you ever gotten a home ready to list, chances are a repair list showed up before anything else did. Paint here, fix that, finally deal with the bathroom. It feels responsible. Here's the catch. Most of that list has nothing to do with whether the home actually sells. What actually decides a sale and the price it sells at, it's what an inspector finds once there's already an offer on the table. Everything else is really just a question of how much time and money it's worth spending on presentation. I'm Justin Zinkowski with Royal LePage Prime Real Estate. I work with buyers and sellers across the Winnipeg and Interlake region. There's a full breakdown on all of this in a blog in the description below, plus a pricing guide covering everything else worth knowing before you list. Both are linked in the description. Start with a short list of things that can stall or kill a sale, and it almost has nothing to do with style. It's usually about safety, structure, and the systems that keep the house running. Roofs are usually first. An inspector isn't grading the shingle's color, they're estimating how many years are left in that roof. And a roof running short on life is often enough to bring a buyer back to the table wanting a credit, a repair, or out of the deal completely. Foundation issues work the same way. Cracks that are growing, floors that are sloped, and doors that suddenly won't close. Electrical is the one sellers underestimate the most, especially in Manitoba's older housing. Knob and tube wiring, aluminum wiring, and overload panel. Some lenders and insurers won't fully back a purchase until it's addressed, which means it can quietly stall a buyer's financing, even when nobody involved wants that to happen. Add active water damage and a furnace or air conditioner near the end of its life, and that's the real list. These are also exactly the same things a pre-listing inspection catches before a buyer's inspector, dealing with them on your own timeline instead of mid-negotiation, right when there's the least amount of leverage to work with. The fixes are usually cheap and worth the time. Fast ones that shape the buyer's impression, not the expensive ones that reshape the whole room. A fresh coat of paint, a deep clean, a real declutter. Those do more for how a home shows than almost anything else, and they cost a fraction of what a renovation runs for. Curb appeal matters more than most sellers expect, because buyers are forming an opinion before they're even through the front door. A mowed lawn, a trimmed hedge, that's doing the real work. A sticky door, leaky tap, burnt out bulb. None of them are deal breakers on their own, but together they signal how well the home has been cared and maintained. Lighting punches above its cost too. Swapping dated fixtures and making sure every room reads brighter rather than dim is one of the cheapest changes that constantly show up in buyer feedback. Even in the kitchen, a minor refresh, like new hardware, updated lighting, repainted dated cabinets, tend to outperform a full renovation. It also costs a fraction of the price and does most of the same work in terms of how the space actually feels when you walk through it. A full kitchen or bathroom remodel usually never pays for itself before a sale, and most sellers who take one on are solving a problem a buyer was actually never going to raise. Major renovations usually cost far more than they return at a sale, especially compared to a minor version of the same project. A kitchen that's dated but works is far more likely to read to a buyer as an opportunity to make the space their own than as a reason to walk away. The same goes for personalized upgrades. Chasing whatever finish is trending, or any project whose real audience is the seller and not the buyer. Once a home is live on the market, pricing and positioning do far more of the real work than any other renovation ever will. A simple filter cuts through most of this. Fix what an inspector or lender can flag. Present what a buyer will actually see in the first 15 minutes, and skip anything that mainly exists to make the listing feel safer. It seems like most of the anxiety around pre-listing repairs isn't really about the house. It's about wanting some guarantee that doing enough will protect against a buyer lowballing or walking away. And that's a fair thing to want. A buyer's decision comes down to whether a home is priced and positioned for exactly the condition it's actually in, not if every possible flaw has been erased before they walk in. A good rule of thumb: keep pre-listing spending modest relative to the home's value. Try and stay away from a single project. That's the real breakdown. Fix what protects the sale, do the cheap stuff that shapes the first impression, and skip the renovation that mostly exists to make the process feel safer. For a full written version of this, plus a pricing guide covering everything worth knowing before listing, the links are in the description below. And if Winnipeg or the Interlake market is something worth a heads up on before decisions like this come up, subscribe. That means catching videos every week.